Welcome to a special edition of the AlbumReview.net podcast. This is episode 1 of our new feature, Band Fanatics. In each episode of Band Fanatics, I talk to multiple music fans and hear the story of their craziest concert experience. To kick off our first Band Fanatics episode, I welcome Kevin Banks of Claymore Design. Kevin is the owner, creator of Claymore Design and is a huge music fan. He's the creator of the current AlbumReview.net logo with the record, and he's also a personal friend. You can find Kevin's work on the tools and resources page at AlbumReview.net and at www.claymoregoboom.com. That's ClaymoreGoboom.com, all one word. I'm also joined by video and audio producer and editor Steve Broadley. Steve is also a personal friend and a fellow music nut. Both Kevin and Steve share their stories of their most craziest concert experiences. Is that even right? Most craziest? No, just craziest. They're crazy. If you'd like to be a part of the Band Fanatics by AlbumReview.net, send a message to gpotters at AlbumReview.net. That's GPOTTERS at AlbumReview.net. Or you can send me a message on Instagram at AlbumReviewNet. Tell us briefly about your crazy concert experience. It can be anything. It just needs to be wild. We're not necessarily looking for I went and I saw Taylor Swift and it was really, really good. Or I went and I saw Metallica and it was a lot of fun. We need your craziest concert experience. And I think by listening to this episode, you'll figure out what we mean. So once you tell us about your crazy concert experience, we'll get back in touch with you if your story's right for the podcast. So come be a part of the Band Fanatics podcast, part of AlbumReview.net. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. And now, our first episode. So, Kevin, what is the craziest concert experience you've ever had?
There have been a lot of them, but my favorite experience had to be because it was a reward. It was free seventh row tickets to see Jay Giles open for Aerosmith at Boston's world famous Fenway Park back in, I think it was 2011. Mr. Wolf gifted me those tickets because I helped him work on an album cover design for his independent release. I think it was called Midnight Vultures or Midnight Souvenirs. And we had to work together in his apartment 4 consecutive Tuesday nights. And what he did was he had me just help him with the design software on his computer, and we slapped something together. But during our workshop, our meetings at his apartment, his phone would ring, and it would be Jan Wenner from Rolling Stone called him demanding the artwork so that they could use it in the next issue in the magazine to review this upcoming album. And then on my last night working with Peter Wolf, Bob Dylan called his house, and he had him on speakerphone, which blew my mind.
Oh my God.
Inviting him over to Harvard Square to hang out. And Peter Wolf said, "I'm sorry, but I'm working right now with Mr. Banks on my album."
So you're, sorry to interrupt you. I want you to continue, but so your name was floated through Bob Dylan's head. Let's just leave it at that right there. Okay,
so
keep going.
And Dylan's reply after a bunch of crickets, Dylan's reply was,
"Fill me in."
No, so be it. And he hung up.
Really? Holy.
Yeah. But getting back to the concert was amazing. But that concert had a dark side to it because there was a side stage argument between Peter Wolf and Steven Tyler over who had access to the ramp, that jutted out into the audience.
This does not surprise me. Yes.
Apparently, that was the Aerosmith's or / Steven Tyler's special ramp, and Peter Wolf was not allowed to set foot on the ramp during his performance. That was saved for the Aerosmith show.
I hope he did it right.
The minute they came on stage, you hear bum, 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 boom, and he just runs out onto the end of the ramp.
Yeah.
He does a 360 in the air and runs back, like a 5-year-old would.
Yeah, but it's rock and roll, man.
Yeah. So, and you can Google that too. The Boston Herald newspaper had some good coverage about that argument that took place side stage. And reportedly, Wolf ended up asking Joe Perry. Joe Perry said, "I don't care." So he used it. And, somebody said to me, which band, really rocked. And to be honest with you, to see Giles in that environment, they had every member except for Stephen Blatt, the drummer. They blew my face off, but so did Aerosmith that night. Much more of a light show than Giles before them. But both bands blew my face off from the seventh row. And it was all thanks to the kindness of Peter Wolf, who I've always had a soft spot for, because when I was a kid, my brother had Giles on vinyl, and I used to sneak into his room to play Jay Giles albums when he wasn't there, which was my, probably my first introduction to real music.
That's an amazing story. It doesn't surprise me. I saw Peter Wolf open for Tom Petty. It was actually only a couple months before Petty died. This was at the Boston Garden in 2017. But I read the Walk This Way, which is the biography, the great by the way, if any of you out there want to pick this up, there's a copy at albumreview.net in the bookstore, the biography of Aerosmith, Walk This Way. But there's also a documentary on the band Kansas, Carry On My Wayward Son, that band. And in their documentary, they were interviewed where they said they were actually, I think, in Wichita, coincidentally, and they were opening for Aerosmith sometime in the 70s, and they absolutely crushed it and did a better job. Like, the crowd reacted more. So the next night, Steven Tyler pulled the plug on their instruments like 3/4 of the way through their show. So, and they went back to like look for him and fight him. And Perry was like, "Yeah, he's over there." Like, yeah, he just went in there, go get him, like that kind of thing. So yeah, great. Kev, that's an awesome story, man. So
that's how, the bad boys from Boston, that's how we roll in Boston.
That's right. That's right. Okay, Steve, what about you?
I'm gonna go on the coattails of Kev here. All this talk about Jay Giles. My first concert, it's got to be, Jay Giles at the Boston Garden, 1979.
Wow.
And we had been listening to Blow Your Face Out by Jay Giles. And I think I was probably 14 at the time. I don't know how my parents let me go, but I know we just took the train in. And there are seats, the old Boston Garden, and they were really steep. Like I couldn't, like, you just lean forward and you're seeing down there, but we're kind of right, it's hard one seat ahead of us, and then it's the drop, and Peter Wolf is out, and I'm overwhelmed. Peter Wolf is out, and he pulls a fan from the crowd, this woman, and they are on stage making out, rolling across the stage. And I was like, I have arrived. This world is for me, so that impacted me even to this day. And that was, whatever, many years ago. But like you and Kev, like, we've got a ton of
right. There's so many. And I know that's the thing, right? So no, I get it. And we could probably do another episode and we could talk about another one, right? So
right now, like, Van Halen has come in, and when they had that stack of speakers, and David Lee Roth ran behind it, still at the Boston Garden, and came out the other side, it was all the way across the stage, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So anyway. I'm gonna throw a ball out there. So I'll be quick with the first one. So the very first time I ever saw Rage Against the Machine, I had never heard of them. I didn't know who they were. They were not on my radar. I personally wasn't interested. I just happened to be at the near the front of the stage at Lollapalooza in 1993. I just remember my jaw dropping, and that changed my life. That was the first time I went to a concert and saw a band that I never had heard of before, and was just completely blown away. And I've been in love with them ever since. But really,
I was at that show, Greg.
Were you? Oh my God. But really the craziest concert experience I had, and although the music was really good, I did attend a Fish Festival, the Clifford Ball, in August of 1996, way up in Plattsburgh, New York. And the reason why I think this qualifies as my craziest concert experience is because what happened afterwards. So the weekend goes as it does. Long story short, it was a great time. Great, Fish fans can go back and hear the tapes. I think it's the Bathtub Gin is like the greatest bathtub gin that anyone's ever heard from them. After the show, this is before cell phones. So after the show, we're in this long line. It's the next morning, and it's this long line. We're waiting to get out, and my friend, there's three of us in the car. I'm in the front seat. My friend is driving, and my friend in the back says, we're not moving anywhere. And he says, I'm just going to get out and, use the bathroom, or basically I'm going to go in the woods and take a piss. So I, being a worry wart all the time, I'm like, all right, but hurry back. And he's like, dude, don't worry, we're not going anywhere. So he gets out of the car, 4-door sedan. He gets out of the car, starts running up this hill, just disappears into the woods, kind of like Field of Dreams, right? Just like poof into the corn. And then all of a sudden, this line starts moving, and we just start moving. So why we didn't just pull off to the side and wait for him, I don't know. But my friend Andrew starts driving, and we're driving, and then I was like, hold on, we've got to stop. He says, nah, he'll catch up to us. I was like, no, we got to stop. So we pull off. I felt like it was only maybe about 30 or 40 yards ahead. So we pull off. All these cars are going by us. We're now like, oh, we just lost our chance to get out of here. We were tired. We were hungry. We were thirsty. We just wanted to get home. And Plattsburgh, New York from Boston is like 7 hours or 6 hours. It's something long like that. So 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, 30 minutes have now gone by, and no Jeff. He does not come out of the cornfield. And we're like, what is going on? So we kind of backed the car up a little bit to the spot that we thought he went into the woods, and we're yelling his name. We don't hear anything. So then we kind of drive around. People are like throwing cans at us, like, hey, get in line. And we're like, no, you don't understand. We're looking for our friend. So we go back to the original spot where we lost him. I get on the top of my friend's car, and I'm yelling his name full blast. And this one guy, I remember, just goes, dude, he's gone, man. Shut up. And I was like, do I get into a fight right now? No, I'm not going to. So an hour goes by, another hour goes by. I now have no voice, and I'm freaking out. And I'm like, what do we do? What do we do? So after like this moment of silence in the car, which had to have been, it was probably only a minute, but it felt like 30 minutes. We were like, we got to go. So as we're driving, we're like, and part of us were like, well, he made his bed, he's got to lie in it. But another part of us were like, we can't abandon our friend like this. So I remember getting onto I-87 going south, going like, what am I going to say to his parents? Like, we left your son in Plattsburgh, New York. Like, and we had no money. We had no money whatsoever. Like, we brought all our food. There were like big bags of walnuts and Ziploc bags and, water bottles that we filled up with this gross tap water. And so I'm like, and I'm thinking about what I have to tell him, and I'm freaking out. We're now maybe 20 minutes down the road. All of a sudden, on the side of the highway, with one Birkenstock on,
no way,
our friend Jeff just like kind of walking along. And we pull to the side, and I'm just so happy to see him. I jump out, and I'm like, oh my God. And of course, Andrew, who's like the other parent, is like, where were you? So, but the feeling of relief. So to me, if I had to narrow down, I was going to have a heart attack, basically. Yeah, so that's
a weird concert experience.
But in terms of music, like, it had to have been Rage. But again, like, just like you guys, I've got 35, 40 other ones. All of us have been to probably north of 60 or 70 concerts. I've probably been to north of 200 in my life. So there's tons more. So thanks again for listening to Band Fanatics, brought to you by the AlbumReview.net podcast. Thank you to Kevin Banks of Claymore Design and Steve Broadley for sharing your stories. If you want to learn more about Kevin's design work, you can find it on the tools and resources page at albumreview.net, or you can go to www.claymoregoboom.com. That's www.claymoregoboom.com. Once again, if you'd like to be a part of Band Fanatics by albumreview.net, send a message to gpotters@albumreview.net. That's GPOTTERS at albumreview.net. Or you can message me on Instagram at albumreviewnet. Tell us briefly about your crazy concert experience. It can be anything. It just needs to be wild. We're not looking for, I went to see this band and it was really good. Want to hear like your craziest experience? I got lost. My car broke down. I got to go meet the band. Something like that. And we'll get back in touch with you if your story's right for the podcast. So again, come be part of the Band Fanatics Podcast, part of albumreview.net. Looking forward to hearing from you guys.